Episode 3 of DPW Radio, presented by Destination Pro Wrestling on YouTube. My name is Ango, and today we have a very special guest, pro wrestling gamer and YouTuber personality on the internet, Tony Pizza Guy. Thank you for joining us today.
What's going on, man? How you doing?
Feels good to have you, man. I mean,
hey, thanks for having me, man.
It's crazy because normally when we do podcasts, you're usually the one who's inviting me, but now you're on my show, so...
Bro, I always take an invite from you, so whenever you need it, just hit me up. I'm always down to do it.
Heck yeah. So this show is going to be on all streaming and podcast platforms. So Apple Podcast, obviously, Spotify, Google, pretty much everywhere. And the first two episodes have been pretty good, and I kind of have to admit I've been slacking a little bit on DPW Radio, but the goal here is to talk about pro wrestling on a weekly basis. Now, on youtube.com/Destination Pro Wrestling, we do daily news videos, and we actually received some pretty big news. I personally think this is worthy of a longer form of conversation. Usually a 10-minute video. I feel like with this one, I need to get a lot more out. But Tony, have you heard the incredible news of NWA going on TV?
I kind of heard rumblings of Billy, Mr. Saving Impact Wrestling, as he was back in the day. Now he's just Billy, NWA Billy. They're trying to make a revival here. They're trying to come back and do their own thing, and they're going to have a TV taping, it sounds, which... In 2019, I don't know how much I like TV tapings. I still feel live wrestling is the way to go, but I don't know. What are the full details that you know thus far about this?
Yeah, so we basically have confirmation from Billy Corgan himself that the NWA will be doing a studio show. So this is going to be a, you know how like NXT is done at Full Sail? Essentially, this is going to be what it is for NWA. So they're going to have their own little spot in Atlanta, and they will begin taping TV. This will be the first week of October, which happens to be a very, very busy week in pro wrestling because, as you know, SmackDown will be on Fox, and then AEW will be on TNT. But you are right, this is pre-taped, so they are going to probably do very similar to what Impact and NXT do, in a sense of, taping several episodes within a 2-night span, which is exactly what's expected here. I believe September 30th or 31st or something like that. How many days are in September? Let's check the calendar. There's 30 days in September. So it's the 30th and the 1st of October. They will be doing their weekly television show. So we don't really have much more details than that. But this is going to be another interesting thing happening in pro wrestling. WWE and AEW now have some new competition.
Could be one of those things where they call it TV, but it could be for internet. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Like, it is a TV taping, but this also might be another way for them to shop around networks, kind of have a pilot of episodes here to figure out where they're going. Or maybe Billy, he came out from the gate here and they already have a network. Because I don't think they haven't officially announced a network, have they?
Correct. So no TV deal has been announced. But one thing that you have to know, Billy is not foreign to the wrestling world. So obviously, the whole thing going on with Impact before Anthem kind of was in play, Billy Corgan was running ship over there. And a lot of people could actually argue that was a really good time for Impact creatively. So I would assume, Billy Corgan is definitely not a no-namer in the business. I would assume at this point he probably has something up his sleeve. But I got to ask you, so... Have you kind of been familiar with what's been going on between NWA and some of the stuff that they've done this past year?
I noticed that they were, like, to get off the ground, they kind of partnered with Ring of Honor, and they did that one big show. I wasn't too sold on that because I'm not really sold on Ring of Honor in 2019, but they seem to be broken off from there. Am I correct on that?
Yes.
From Ring of Honor? And so now they're just NWA themselves. They have Nick Aldis. They have James Storm. Who else is involved? Drake. What's his name?
Eli Drake.
And they have some other names.
Sienna as well.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say. So I think that they have like a a good mix of like names that are like independent names that people know. Like I feel like James Storm is a name that like build up some credibility. He
Yes.
could have probably went to WWE NXT and stayed there and done good things, but he decided to leave. So do his own thing here. So I think what we're seeing now is like James Storm, Nick Aldis. Do we still have Villain Enterprise? Are they still around?
Yeah, Villain Enterprises, they exist within ROH, and I don't know, it's kind of all over the place right now.
Well, it says they're currently the NWA Tag Team Champions. So
Yes, yes, yeah.
so it's kind of a messy slope here, but I'm not sure. But anyway, I'm excited to see what they do now that they're not with Ring of Honor. I feel like that's kind of the crutch in wrestling. Another thing that I didn't really like with New Japan is their like Ring of Honor tie there.
Yeah.
Again, I don't think New Japan really needs Ring of Honor. I feel like now they just need to do their own thing, and I'm glad NWA is doing it. And hopefully they lock down some good talent, because we just we see now that it's not like an independent thing anymore. You really have to find the good talent and lock them down to contracts, otherwise they'll go to major promotions.
For sure. And that's kind of why I'm curious, right? So I kind of said like AEW and WWE, do they have new competition? And in a sense, I feel like they do, because if Billy Corgan could tie down the contract of Eli Drake, James Storm, Sienna, I mean, these people not only, had experience within WWE or Impact at one point, but these are names that were sought out after by every company, at least within the last few months. I know Eli Drake was rumored to go to AEW. I know Eli Drake was rumored to go back to WWE NXT, especially with the new, with the new regime down at the Performance Center.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously James Storm. There was that whole thing of James Storm. Will he go back to Impact? Will he go to WWE? There was even times where James Storm was rumored to go to AEW. And then of course you have New Japan. And then I almost feel like this is kind of like the crazy thing that we have going on here. We have two major promotions in the United States. So WWE and AEW, fair to say, they are the major companies that exist. But the smaller companies are no slouches either, right? Like Billy Corgan had the money to sign some of these guys to their roster. How much are they being paid? Clearly, like Eli Drake is not doing anything, for MLW or any other televised pro wrestling show. So how much does it cost to keep Eli Drake away from the competition? Obviously, you would have to assume at that point that Billy Corgan is either a really, really good leader, and that's somebody that people want to work for, maybe based on their experience with him, at Impact, or he's got some serious money invested into NWA, and they could legit be running a powerhouse wrestling show. But I don't know. Like, I don't know the financial situation, because right now NWA is only being ran by Billy Corgan and then Dave Lagana, so it's like this company hasn't been putting on too many events. I don't, if I had to assume, like, basically where their money's coming in from, I would assume merchandise and YouTube videos, because that's pretty much all they have to really show for their company at this point in time.
I guess they have ticket sales as well, is another revenue stream for them. But really, when it comes down to it, Billy Corgan knew what he was getting into with NWA. NWA was like a dying brand. It should have been dead long ago, but he wanted to revise it. Wasn't it back in the day him that was like funding those Impact tapings in good faith to make it happen? So, I mean, it feels like he's got a lot of money going on here. And, with his previous stuff, Smashing Pumpkins, I'm sure he's not hurting for any money. So I feel like he's doing all right money-wise. So I don't feel like money's an issue for him. So I feel like he knew that NWA was a brand that he wanted to revive, and he wanted to make it something. It's kind of like what he wanted to do with Impact Wrestling, right? He wanted to take this brand and mold it into his vision. Well, with NWA, you have just that. There's not much people involved in it. Like, there's not a huge roster of guys. So you can basically build it however you want it. I mean, like a year ago, they had Tim Storm, and I didn't really think he fit the mold. He was like kind of their first guy under the Billy banner, right?
Yep.
As their champion. That was kind of, okay, we're going to do like this tour with the NWA Championship, which I thought was really cool, because that kind of brings that belt back to its prestige. Hey, I'm going to go defend it all over the world, and then that makes it a title. And I still think that has merit in today's standard, and I would like to see them do that with the NWA more often, is take that champion, go defend it everywhere, and take that title global, worldwide, national, as they are, and do that. What you're really going to see here, though, Ango, is that there's going to be a cost-cutting measure here by doing these tapings back-to-back on the 30th and the 1st. So they're going to do it very cheap. They're going to get people to come in. If they do it at like a casino or where did they announce where they're doing these tapings?
They may have announced it. I don't remember, but I do know it's going to be in Atlanta.
Okay, so if they do it near like a public area, like I know Impact used to do at Universal Studios, if you did it anything like that, you can always get people that are just in that area, like in the theme park or at the casino or wherever it is, to come to the show. So you can always have a full audience. That's kind of why WCW always ran in Universal as well, because they had that audience that could come in. So I don't think they're going to hurt for an audience. It will look great on television. It just depends on where they go from here. I don't know.
So if you're WWE and AEW, honestly, you could even throw Impact and ROH in the mix. If you're one of those four companies, do you kind of start to get worried about Billy and the NWA?
I think that WWE's worried about any promotion at this current state. As you see, they're in a weird spot where they're trying to buy up all these premium network subscriptions as they're going to launch the premium network with, I think it's like $12 or $15 a month that you get like Evolve and ICW and bunch of other promotions. And I feel like they're trying to buy up all this content so they can launch that. And so by them doing that, this just shows that they're scared of like the independent wrestling scene. AEW is making them sweating already. Yeah. The fact that Vince even mentioned the blood and guts comment before, that's got to make WWE sweating. But I don't think at this current state is NWA a threat to anybody. No. Again, they're not a big enough brand again. They're still trying to build that merit. They put on that one show with the Ring of Honor. I think it was like an anniversary show, wasn't it?
Yep.
And then they are coming back. And this is kind of like their coming out party. And we'll see where they go. I don't think they're really a legit threat right at this moment.
I can agree in a sense that they may not be a legit threat just yet, because obviously they have to start showing more. But when you look at Billy Corgan's history in wrestling, a lot of people would say that he's a very underrated mind in wrestling. And I'm starting to get the feeling just maybe the new NWA is going to kind of be in the same pocket as like MLW. So if I'm the NWA, I don't want to necessarily be trying to compete with AEW or WWE. I kind of want to just do my own thing and really build up on my roster and my wrestling belts and things like that. But I kind of see, like how MLW is just kind of doing their own thing. Mm-hmm. Like they just started getting into the pay-per-view game. Like they're not really trying to compete. A lot of people have issues with MLW because it came out that they don't pay their wrestlers that great. But at the end of the day, MLW has a very hardcore audience, and I kind of see that being the same with NWA. I feel like the same amount of passion that wrestling fans had expressed for NWA back in the day, I don't think that's going to come and follow in this realm. Like in 2019, 2020, I think the NWA show will have a very strong niche audience, but I don't think this is going to be a company that takes out AEW or WWE, but they're going to have such a strong following that people who exclusively want to watch Eli Drake or James Storm, like they know like this is the only place they can do it. But it kind of scares me. It kind of scares me if they go that route of having exclusivity, because one of the things about that NWA championship, we saw it being defended at All In. Like that's a belt, if I'm a company in the United States and I'm not WWE, I want to have that belt on my show just because of how prestigious that belt is. So if I am AEW, I kind of want to work with NWA here. If I am Impact, I kind of want to work with NWA, but I don't get that feeling that that's going to happen. I think they are going to be, the all-exclusive brand that eventually uploads their own stuff.
I feel like they could take a different route than wrestling really has done in recent years. I know Impact does a little bit of like co-branding where they're doing their stuff with other promotions, but I feel like NWA could do it similar to that, where they're going to pay their talent for their appearances at the NWA show, but they could also broker deals with other independent promotions where they're kind of like a booker for you. So like anytime that you want to get a match with Nick Aldis, you're going to have to go through the NWA. And then NWA will come up with a deal for you, and then they'll give NWA a cut, and then Nick Aldis will get another cut of that booking fee. You know what I mean? So I feel like that's a great thing for NWA. And again, you could just take that NWA title and make it that world title where you defend it all over. It's like kind of the territory days. I think when you think of it now, wrestling is back in the territory days. It really is. Like, there's promotions in the East Coast, the West Coast, down south, up north. There's great promotions all over the world. The UK scene is going crazy too. So it's similar to territory days where it's kind of divided, but yet we still have like that independent talent that travels all over. So I feel like NWA could hire some people on to do some, like, you know, they could not be under the NWA banner, but they're just like freelance workers. Kind of how I think Impact should do it is you get your main core of guys that you want to be a part of the promotion, right? They're signed to exclusive contracts. Then you just play off of the huge indie name that a lot of these guys have, whether they're wrestling PWG or GCW or anywhere, and you just get them to come into your show and you sign them like per appearance deals. So I think that would make the most sense for NWA, especially when they're still in this building period to try and figure out what kind of brand they are and what the direction is going to be.
Yeah.
I think getting like your core guys that you have that are like your main event talent that are on those deals, and then you just get like the top names on the independent and sign them to like TV deals where they're getting paid for those appearances.
Sure. And what about, so let's talk, okay, so that makes a lot of sense. I agree with that too. But I kind of want to I want to kind of transition into the topic of television, because you said something earlier that that kind of stuck with me, and I was thinking about it a little bit, which was the, you know, they might refer to it as a TV taping, but it could be listed as like an online show. Nobody really knows as far as distribution, like where they're going to distribute their television tapings and stuff. It is supposed to be a weekly television show. At this point, what is your ideal landing spot? Like, what would you rather see NWA do?
I mean, MLW does a great job of premiering their stuff on the YouTube channel. Do they also have like TV deal somewhere, right, as well?
Correct.
That you can watch MLW. So
Yeah.
I think they take that similar approach. And even like partnering with Impact Wrestling, I know their kind of original goal for like Global Wrestling Network was to have like all the independent promotions under one thing, and then you can watch it through the Impact Plus app kind of thing, right? That was their original plan, I think.
Yeah.
So maybe they could partner up with Impact, even if they don't do a talent exchange. Just say, hey, we'll provide you content for your Impact Plus, let us air our show on there, and then that could be something they could do. Even like shop it out to their Twitch channel. You know, Impact has a Twitch channel that's growing with an audience. Put that NWA on the Twitch channel or something like that. And even if they don't want to do that, NWA could do local television. They could do whatever. If they don't get a national network like AEW did, they're not going to be in the running as a number 3 promotion. That's just the facts there. They're never going to be as big as AEW or WWE if they don't get a national TV deal. ABC, NBC, TNT, TBS, whatever, USA, whatever they can do. If they don't get something, they're going to just have a TV deal just to have a TV deal, kind of like Impact Wrestling has right now, where they have one of the worst television deals of all time. And I really don't want to see them go down that route. Oh, yeah, we have TV. And it's like, but only like 1,000 people can watch that TV. And it's not very good. They air the wrong episodes of their show and stuff. So it's like, is it really worth having the right TV? So I think they just shop it around, do this pilot, and see what they can get out of it.
So you said the MLW distribution thing, which I agree with. I think that is exactly what they need to do. But I want to throw a curveball. And obviously, you know, WWE Network, they're doing the potential tiered system. So Progress, ICW, Evolve, you know, those are some interesting names. What if WWE signed a deal with NWA? And the NWA, James Storm, James Storm and all these guys, Eli Drake, what if they're to be seen on the WWE Network, but under the NWA branding?
That would be a risk for them. I think Billy, I don't know if Billy would want that. Maybe he would. I'm not sure. I don't know if you know this, but in the fine line of those contracts, it says that WWE can buy them out at any chance that they want. So Evolve, if WWE decided tomorrow they wanted to own Evolve, they would own it. Literally, that's how that contract works. So I don't know if that's what Billy's plan is. I think if somehow they could do that, it would be cool, because WWE has all this NWA footage, you know, so they could literally use that to their advantage. If they could license out that NWA footage, hey, courtesy of the WWE Network or whatever they do, it's on the WWE Network, so they could just have it. I mean, that would be the best case scenario if they really just did it like they do with Evolve. Hey, let Billy book it, let him run it. We'll just air it, and it's free for you guys or whatever. They'll get some sort of deal out of it. But kind of like Evolve, if they could do that, that would be great. I don't know. I'd love it.
Me personally, I think this whole thing with the NWA is so intriguing because we have so many promotions on TV, online that we have access to. And I think, when you look at AEW being on TNT, WWE being on Fox, like, this is not NWA with a crappy roster. This is NWA with some names that people are familiar with, so people are going to tune in regardless. Now, obviously, funds, resources, things like that, Billy Corgan is not on the level of Tony Khan or Vince McMahon. He's going to try to build this thing up as best as he can and as big as he can. So, realistically, he's going to be competing with these two companies. But I really want to see him not do that. I want to see this guy, I don't want to see this guy floating in the wrestling world and that's it. Like, I want to see them making some moves that people are, like, intrigued by. You know what I mean? Like, possibly announcing a pay-per-view right off the bat. Maybe saying, "Hey guys, we have a joint show." Like we've seen with Impact, right? Impact has done this stuff with House of Glory and some other promotions, House of Hardcore, all this stuff, right? Maybe Impact and NWA need to start doing stuff like that too. I just feel like at this point it's so interesting because nobody knows the route that they're going to go. And because Billy Corgan has experience, maybe he doesn't have the same amount of money as the Khan family or McMahon's. I feel like there's going to be something very special about this. I think from like a YouTube perspective, and there's nobody better than you to answer this. Like, I know for me, covering, AEW, WWE, Impact, Ring of Honor, New Japan, like, that's beneficial to me. But you're a content creator as well. Is that something that you see yourself covering? Do you feel like this is going to be big enough for you to cover? Or do you think this is just going to be one of those companies that it just exists and nothing really happens with it?
Well, first off, they have the NWA name, so that puts credibility right there. They have the official title from NWA. They brought back the old titles as well, it looks like. So they have a lot of lineage and history going on there with the NWA brand. If they can somehow make a banger of a first television show, I mean, they'll be onto something. If you can't pack that, it's all about perception. Perception is reality. If you see a wrestling show and the crowd's kind of full and there's empty seats and it doesn't look very good production-wise and the wrestling's okay, but it's not fantastic, and it's like, yeah, I know some of these guys, but the matches were all right, then that's going to turn people off. You really have to come out and hit a home run if you're going to make a big splash here. If you want this to succeed from day one, this first television show needs to be like one of the best. People need to be talking about it like they were talking about when the Bucks put on All In. It needs to be as big as that, where it's like, whoa, what did I just see? I want more. This is a revolution. And if they can't deliver with NWA, they're just going to float by as another promotion that's just, oh, yeah, it's pretty cool. I remember the NWA when I was a kid, but it's not what it used to be.
Yeah. So in 5 years, where do you see the NWA?
Again, we have to go off of 1 year. We have to see where they're at after 1 year, maybe even
I want the 5 year.
months.
I want the 5 year span.
I can't give you a 5 year plan, man. I don't even know what their television looks like. I really need to see a good television product. It's the same with AEW. I can't give you a 5 year on AEW because I don't know what their TV looks like. Maybe their TV could be the worst thing you've ever seen, and it's like, all right, this ain't gonna last 6 months. You know what I mean? So it's a rough call here. Either they're going to hit a home run or they're just going to float by. I don't think they're going to flop. I don't think that will happen, but they could just play it safe and do small arenas and have these nice indie shows and be a nice little, corner independent wrestling show, or they could hit it out of the park here and have one of the greatest wrestling promotions that's going on right now today. I mean, there is room for it. People want something different than WWE right now. If AEW doesn't deliver when they hit TV, people want something different. So I see NWA could definitely succeed, but just depends on what they do when it comes time to produce that product.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Like, I feel like it's just so weird, like, having WWE and NXT, and then you have, and I kind of put, like, NXT in its own bracket, because sometimes I don't even feel like it's part of WWE, but you have WWE, NXT, Evolve, Impact, ROH, which ROH at this point, you know, a lot of people aren't happy with ROH. They were showing their the tickets I saw on Twitter. I think it was you. I think you sent it to me, or I can't remember who sent it to me, but it was the seating chart for Ring of Honor's show in Vegas, and there's maybe like thousands, and I mean legit, like there's not that many seats that were sold. Like
There's like a handful of seats, yeah.
Yeah, like maybe like you could count on both of your hands how many seats were already sold. That's how bad it was. And you know, ROH at this point it's very clear that without New Japan, Ring of Honor is nothing in pro wrestling right now. I think Impact remains relevant because just kind of the stuff that they've been doing. You know, they do weekly television. They have pay-per-views. Their pay-per-views have been pretty good. Their creative is pretty good. Then you have AEW, which is the closest thing to a WWE product in terms of production and scale and, you know, popularity. So it's like maybe NWA really has a good chance. And especially you kind of mentioned it, you know, with people know the name of NWA, they're going to be intrigued. There is some history there. I just, you know, one thing that I've always hated in pro wrestling, and we kind of saw it with ECW, was, you know, ECW died and then WWE tried to bring back ECW, and then that obviously failed. You know, like, to me, bringing back NWA, from what they've done so far with NWA, you know, with Nick Aldis and, you know, having him go to Championship Wrestling from Hollywood and feud with, you know, some of the guys there, it's like, I'm intrigued by what they're doing. The problem is with what they're doing, they're not doing it with any of the large companies. And because they're not doing it with any of the large companies, that's kind of, you know, what brings them down. And that's the thing that, like, you know, people could be very judgmental on.
Yeah, it's a tough time. I mean, it's a risk to start it, especially with AEW coming down. Probably not the best time to start a promotion, so that kind of throws it off there. But people always want more. Again, if AEW fails, if they're not up to the par there, people will look for more. I mean, MLW is a great example of, like, just keep doing your own thing and making it awesome, and people will find it and watch it. That's literally how wrestling works. So if NWA just keeps doing cool things and making it awesome, people will watch it.
Yeah, only time will tell, man. Only time will tell.
For sure.
So hey, look, that's pretty much all it is for me. Obviously NWA is back. Busiest week of October, just keeps getting busier and busier. Lot of coverage on this channel for sure, and obviously I hope to have you back on the podcast, and we'll kind of see what happens, you know, going forward.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to have a talk again after NWA gets launched and kind of our thoughts on where we see it going and stuff like that, because I'm really intrigued. I want to see what they do. Hopefully it's not just like the GFW stuff where they did the tapings, never really did anything with them, and then that was it, and it just ended, fizzled out. That's what I'm hoping doesn't happen. So we'll see.
A lot of people don't realize how good Global Force Wrestling could have been. What it could have been was not what it was, and then obviously a lot of people weren't happy about that. So only time will tell. But if we could avoid another, you know, GFW and wrestling shows in a baseball stadium, you know, we might be in for something good. And if there is somebody that could do it, it is going to be Billy Corgan, so that kind of excites me. But yeah, only time will tell.
Yeah, for sure. Billy Corgan, NWA, good luck, best of luck. Hopefully things go good, but we'll wait and see.
Yeah, and we will revisit it for sure. So you know, definitely one of the best reasons to stay tuned to the podcast, DPW Radio by Destination Pro Wrestling. My name is Ango, Tony Pizza Guy joining us. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time. iTunes, Google, YouTube, all the good stuff. Make sure you show support, leave a review, show some love, and we'll see you next time.